Hey everyone, Jim Winer here, and this is the recap of the 2021 Tacklewarehouse Pro Circuit event on the St. Lawrence River. So I've never been to the St. Lawrence River. We get 2 days to practice. There's a lot of YouTube video stuff you can watch on the St. Lawrence River, so that's what I did ahead of time to just try to get an idea of what to expect. So, and that was a big help, but it's still, there's a lot of work to do once you get there. And I actually had a bad practice. The minimum goal going into the tournament was to get enough points to qualify for the title championship, and then to get a check. So I figured I needed at least 100th place finish or better to qualify for the title championship. So I wasn't asking for a whole lot there. And then they paid down to 75th. So I guess at a minimum I was hoping to get 75th. And in the end, I finished 60th place. So made those two minimum goals. However, there's obviously some loftier achievements that I missed out on, unfortunately. So I'm not completely satisfied, but I got the must-have bare minimum accomplished, so I'm all right with that, I guess, especially considering how bad my practice was. The first day, I think I put 4 fish in the boat, and the second day of practice, like 7 or 8. None of my fish were all that big in practice, so it was really discouraging considering, that's this fishery in conjunction with Lake Ontario, where it flows out of. This river is supposedly the greatest smallmouth fishery of all time. So you certainly wouldn't know it by my practice. So, and in practice, I really focused a lot of my fishing was on current spots. That's where I did a lot of my targeting. So maybe I missed out on some other stuff. But eventually, when it came time to catch the fish in the tournament, I settled on some primarily deep water fishing, depths like 20 to 30 feet. That was kind of my range, 20 to 30, and targeting those areas where there was a strong current. So the bait that I primarily used to catch just about all my fish was a drop shot rig. So here it is right here. And this is just exactly how I left it. Now I had 2 of these rigged up. One with, this is an 8-pound test, and then the other one was 6, because the water is super ultra clear. In the tournament, because we primarily had some wind and we had a lot of cloud cover, I went with the 8-pound because it wasn't calm, it wasn't sunny. I think with the cloud cover and the wind, your line is slightly bit more disguised. So going from 6 to 8, that 8 gives you like an extra, 20+% of strength over a 6-pound test, which is critical with these smallmouths, really, because there's a lot of zebra mussels. There's zebra mussels in that river. They can easily grab your rig and run it around a rock down there and cut you really easy. It cuts 8-pound really easy as well, but I don't know. I like having that extra, this little over 20% strength improvement if I can get away with it. So let's start now. Let's talk about the bait. This is a bait that it's made by It's made by a company called Billy Rub Baits. Let me show you a package. Comes in a package like this, and this is called the Hot Shot. So it's kind of interesting smallmouth bait. Let me get a little closer to you there. You see it's got these little ridges and skinny tail, so kind of a sexy little smallmouth drop shot bait. And the ridges are there to add scent, because Billy Rub makes a scent. Let me grab that. So you just take the scent here and just kind of dab it with your finger, and then you rub it into these ribs here. And because smallmouths typically are known to be, this thing's rolling all over. Smallmouths are a lot of times typically, a lot of guys believe that smallmouths are particularly sensitive to scent. So that's why I was going heavy on scent out on this tournament. And I think scent is going to help you. It's you know, if it gets you 2 extra fish, 1 extra fish out of the day, it's helped. And it might get more than that. So that was my primary drop shot bait. Now, the thing about my main spot and some of the other spots, I was only catching just smaller fish. So on day one, you know, I really hadn't done much jerk baiting. So with about an hour and 15 minutes left, I decided to abandon my deep fish and just try some just brand new water, brand new method that I haven't done much. So I grabbed this jerk bait right here because I had overcast skies. So I decided to pick a jerk bait that had kind of a bright belly like that, so it would stand out in overcast conditions. So in about the first 10 minutes, I caught one close to 5 pounds with this bait. Then I fished like up until almost time to go in, and then I hooked another good fish. That fish jumped it through the bait, unfortunately. It probably would have been at least a half a pound upgrade, maybe even a little bit more. So, but that was really promising. Having those 2 jerkbait fish right at the end of the day gave me it like totally redirected my thought as far as what I should do on day 2. So come morning on day 2, not only did I have this 1 jerkbait rod rigged up, I had 4 jerkbait rods rigged up with various styles, depth ranges, and everything, with the idea that I was really going to hammer the jerkbait fish and hopefully get several of them big bites. However, before I was going to do that, I decided I wanted to play it safe, because I knew if I just got like a 12-pound limit, that would be enough for the championship points. That'd be enough points for the championship. Because after day 1, I was 76th. So if I could at least come close to that, or at least get a foundation of fish to work from, then preserving that 100th place or better finish would be a lot easier than just to go out and start jerk baiting randomly at new place, you know, fishing new water all day. Especially considering we had kind of a coolie fronty come through, and that can kind of play games with the jerkbait fish a little bit. I've found in the past. So the plan on day 2 then was to go back to my deep fish, catch a decent limit of those, and then go finish out the day with the jerkbait. And so that's what I did. And it was happening fairly steady with the deep fish. I got up, you know, I built myself up to 12 to 12 and a half pound limit, maybe 13, and without any signs of a good one until the good one did bite. And I did catch one out deep, probably close to 5 pounds or so. But still, I kind of played that out. And in fact, my bite slowed because I was primarily fishing one area, and the bite slowed quite a bit. So then with 3 hours left, I decided to attack the shallower water with the jerkbait. And guess what? It didn't work. I never caught one. I did call up once with this bait. Let me grab it. Of course, this would be your marabou jig in black. So I did call up, got a half-pound upgrade off of a shallow flat with that. And the reason why I threw that is because I did have a follow on my jerkbait, and that fish disappeared off to the right. And so I picked up that marabou jig and was throwing out to the right. Didn't hook up. But the shallow little rock pile that he was on was over to the left, so I threw back over there. And the one that, let me just back up. The one that followed that jerkbait was one of those dark black ones. It wasn't a huge fish, but it's one of those dark black ones. So very, you know, I mean, it was, just keep that in mind. So then I threw back to that rock pile, and then I caught that upgrade, which was not the black one. It was a light colored one. So two different fish there. But yeah, so it was kind of disappointing that that jerkbait bite didn't manifest itself in that afternoon. But, you know, with what I had 15 pounds the first day, had a little, you know, about 15 pounds the second day. Put me in 60th place, got the check, got the points I needed for the championship. Those things were accomplished. So now let me just talk a little bit about the deep water fishing there, because it is very unique. You're not going to run into this in many places or many fisheries at all. It's something I had to learn once I got there, because I'd never really fished like this. And what you do, the current is so swift, okay? It is so swift. My primary area, I could hold on my spot with the trolling motor on maximum power. That Ultrex, was it 112 pounds of thrust, whatever. Yeah, I had the thing maxed out, and I was holding, but it was maxed. But the problem was you can't get bit, because you throw your drop shot out, and then, oh, one thing I didn't mention, that's a 1/2 ounce drop shot sinker on there. 1/2 ounce right there, and you can see that is. I like to tie my sinker on there too. Take notice of that. The reason why those sinkers, especially when you get into these heavier weights like a 1/2 ounce. Or even like 3/8 and bigger. You know, the traditional drop shot sinker has that pincher attachment that just pinches your line. Every time I hook up, I lose my sinker using 1/2 ounce and 3/8 ounce. So that's why I like to tie. I like to tie that sinker, and that's a tungsten sinker. You don't want to be losing a lot of those. Your checkbook's not going to like that. So, anyways. Back to this drifting, okay? So you got your waypoint, right? So this might be better explained. I pulled up my prime spot here on the graph, okay? So let's take this camera out of the mount and let's just show you here, all right? So here is, you can see I got some waypoints right in here, and that is my drift. This is upstream over here on this side, and this is downstream. So what you do is you position. So because I couldn't just hold here and catch fish, I guess that's where I was leaving off. For whatever reason, you can't hold and cast. You can hold, but if you cast, you don't get it says that you can't keep contact with the bottom with that swift of a current. If I took a monster Herman Munster cast and threw it as far upstream as I could, I would still only get just a little bit of a bottom contact drag with that thing. And if you tried to throw it sideways to the current, that was useless. The current would just sweep you down and sweep you away, and you'd never even feel bottom, even with that 1/2 ounce. Maybe if a guy, you know, I never tried it. Maybe if a guy had a 3/4 ounce drop shot sinker or an ounce drop shot sinker, then, I mean, but then you'd have to up your line size. You'd have to put on a heavier rod. You'd have to change a lot of things if you upgrade in sinker size. So anyways, so back to the drift. Let's go back to this graph here. So this is what I do. I got my waypoints here where I connect with a fish, okay? So up here is upstream, so I take the big motor, go upstream here, and then I would just simply predict, you know, try to anticipate the current's direction, because the current was basically from the left part of the screen to the right part of the screen. So upstream here, turn off the engine. I dropped the trolling motor down so I could have my transducer in the water to see depth in that. I have my Lowrance active target on there. I had that on, but really, with the current so swift, I wasn't seeing any fish because that current would plaster them to the bottom. So So any fish were just blending in with the bottom signal, so you couldn't see them. So anyways, position up here, and then drift through the waypoints, get down to where I felt like I couldn't catch a fish, and then use the big motor to go back up. So it was just constantly. And this drift from here down to here would literally take like 3 or 4 minutes only. So it was just all day, just going back and forth, back and forth. I wouldn't take my life jacket off. I'd keep the kill switch hooked to the life jacket. So every time I sat down here, I'd plug in the kill switch, and that seemed to be the quickest way to do it. And then just march back upstream and then drift back downstream. The one problem would be was you could get you would snag up, and that was another purpose of having the life jacket on already and just being set to get at this throttle and driving upstream. Because what I'd do is if I was snagged, I'd immediately loosen the drag on my spinning reel, so that it's basically just goes zing, 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 zing with no problem. And it really would. It would zip off. It would peel off of there super fast as this boat was going downstream. So I'd do that first, loosen the spool, then I'd race back to this console, plug in the kill switch, turn on the motor. I already had my life jacket on. Turn on the motor, and then just drive straight upstream, trying not to run over your line, but going upstream. And then I'd go way above stream of it. So my line would actually be going this way, and by getting way upstream of it, usually it would pull out. So, and then of course you'd reel it in, check your hook point, check for any line frays, and then reposition and drop the line again. And the one thing you wanted to make sure is when I positioned upstream up here, I would shut my motor off, and then before I drop my line, I would make sure that my momentum against the current was nil. I'd want my boat to be basically at the same speed as the current before I drop down. And then I drop down. I just basically pitch the bait upstream maybe 10 feet, and then just free spool it down. That would, because otherwise, if I still had all that boat's momentum against the current still going, and I pitched it out 10 feet in front, then it would sweep under the boat, and then you'd just be wasting a whole bunch of time because you wouldn't have contact or nothing. So it was kind of an interesting process, and you can see how many times this is just that's just 1 day's worth of, not even a full day, because I quit after a few hours, but meaning I quit on this spot after a few hours. So, yeah, that's kind of some crazy stuff going on there. It's a case right there. This style of fishing is a case for, you don't have to be super fit to be a professional fisherman, but just to have a little bit of mobility and agility in the boat, because it was a constant process of running up, dropping down the trolling motor, and running back here to the throttle, just constantly. So, and just having a certain level of mobility is going to make you that much more efficient at the process. So, other than that, what else do I got to say? Gosh, that's probably about it. The jerkbait. Okay, where did I go jerkbait? So with the jerkbait, that was a situation where I was looking at some of the grass flats, and that's where I caught that 5-pounder the first day. I just picked a random grass flat off the charts, went over there and caught that fish, and that's how I lost that other one the first day. So, but there was still current on those grass flats. These were not grass flats out of the current. They were in some heavy current, and that seemed to present its own unique set of circumstances, having to cast, and because I'm not drifting with a jerkbait, I was using the trolling motor, and I was casting, and I was snagging the grass with my jerkbait. I did try the chatterbait. I did try chatterbait and that stuff. I tried top water and that stuff too. I just, I don't know if I was around the fish that much, but thank God I got that big one the first day. That was And that's what totally saved my tournament, is the fact that I caught a 5-pounder the first day and one, a heavy 4, maybe close to 5 on that second day off my deep spot. So that was those were the two, and I got them both in, because it's not a given. When you hook up on these smallies, it's not a given that it's never a given no matter what you hook up with. But these smallies, these smallies in St. Lawrence, they tended to have a higher probability of coming off the hook, it seemed like, for some reason. So there you have it. There's my St. Lawrence River recap. Can't wait to go back again, where I am sure I can do better than 60 next time. And I feel like I miss an opportunity there, because I don't know, smallmouths are kind of in my wheelhouse a little bit, and to only finish 60th place leaves me, at first when I I realized I was in 60, I was kind of happy, and then the next day when I was driving home, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, it really kind of sucks that I didn't do any better. So, because I don't know, smallmouths, it's nothing. I mean, I will say this: Great Lakes smallmouths are different than a lot of the smallmouths I fish in Minnesota and where I fish in Canada. They're a little different creature, but still. Anyways, that's the report, and we'll see you next time.